First, I have a few addendum or corrections to some errors I made. On number 4, the answer is actually 60. I said 6, but its estimate is 6 times 10 is 60. On number 5, the mean is 11.18. I think I stopped at 1.8, but the 1.8 actually repeats. And then another error I made is on 18. I wrote down the wrong number at one point along here. The actual answer should be 10.96. On number 20, the answer should be 78.75. I'm not sure what I put down there. On number 24 down here, I think I said 1,000 kilowatt hours, but I wrote down 100 on the video. And that's it. Okay, we're going to go through the Chapter 3 practice test now. This is the same test you had. I enlarged mine a little bit. So, first one, we're going to round to the nearest hundredth. To do rounding, we go to the spot we're going to round to. So we're told to round to the hundredths with the there, the 7. We look over to the the place to the right of that, and that's a 4. 4 is below 5, so we just leave the 7 here alone, so we get 27.57 is our answer. Now, let's say this was a 5 here. If this had been a 5 instead of a 4, we would have gone here and rounded the 7 up to an 8. So 5 or above, when we look to the right, if it's 5 or above, we take the number we're rounding to and move it up. If it's 4 or below, we just leave it the same. So here we're leaving it the same. This next one's going to be another example where we leave it the same. We're going to go to the nearest 10th. Here's the 10th spot right there. We look to the right of that. That's a 2. So 2 is less than 5, so we're just going to leave it alone. And so this is 4.5. Number 3, it deals with front-end estimation. If you remember front-end estimation, we're going to add the units columns here, the ones, and so we go 6, and I'm going to use a little commutative and associative property here. 6 plus 4 is 10, plus 3 is 13. So I have 13, then I'm going to round these. I'll round to the nearest 10th, so this is 0. This one would be round up to 0.5. This one would stay the same at 0.4, so I get 0.9 total. And so my estimation is 13.9. Estimate these. I'm just going to say this is about 6, and this is about 10, and I'm going to say just 6. These problems here relate to this set of numbers. So I'm going to be asked to find the mean, median, and mode. So what I'm going to do, I know I might have to do this, so I'm going to do it right away. I'm going to put them in order. So I'm going to go 9, I cross it out, 9, cross it out, a 10, okay, cross it out, another 10, cross it out, an 11, cross it out, an 11, cross it out. Let's see, I have a 12, cross it out, another 12, cross it out, another 12, cross it out, a 13, I'll cross it out, and a 14, and I'll cross it out. Okay, so I have those. Now, to find the mean, I'm going to take the sum of these, which means I add them all up, and then I'm going to divide by the number of items. Now, the number of items is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I'm going to count it up here too because I want to make sure I've included them all. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I do get 11 on both of them. The sum, I'm going to add all these up. Probably on the test I'll tell you what the sum is. Because I'm not going to allow you to use calculators, but I don't want you to take too long. And on this one, the sum is 123. So I'm going to take 123. If I add these all up, it's equal to 123. And so I'm going to take 123 divide by 11. That goes in once. I get 13 left over. That goes in once. I get 11. I get 2, 0. Bring that on my decimal there. That goes in once. And I get 8. I get 11. And I get 9. And that goes in 8 times. And I'm just going to leave it there. So let's say 11.18 because I want to move on. The median is the middle number. So we have 11 of them here, so there should be a middle number. I'll count over 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is half. The one right there after 5 is the median, the middle number. So the median is 11. The next problem here is the mode. The mode is the most frequent occurrence. The most frequent occurrence is there's 312. So okay, we left off at problem 8. Our next problem here is a formula problem. So I have A for area is equal to length times width. And so I write down the formula and I get area is equal to length, which is 5.4 centimeters, times the width, which is 1.5 centimeters. This is where I'm expected to know how to do my decimal operations. So I go 5.4 times 1.5. 5 times 4 is 20, carry the 2. 5 times 5 is 25, plus 2 is 27. 1 times 4 is 4. 1 times 5 is 5. I go 0. 7 plus 11 is, 7 plus 4 is 11. And then 1 and 2 is 3 and 5 is 8. I'm going to count over 2 places to the right of the decimal. 1, 2. Start here, move over 2 places to the left here, and my answer is the area is equal to 8.1. Units are centimeters times centimeters, or centimeters squared, or square centimeters. So I'm going to move to problem 9 now. Problem 9 is another formula problem. Here we have force is equal to mass times acceleration is what that stands for. You don't need to know what that means right now, though. Matter of fact, I didn't give you units here because we haven't studied that yet. But the mass is 3.5. So I go force is equal to ma. Force is equal to 3.5 because that's what I'm told mass is. The acceleration, or the a here, is 6. So I go 6. So I go 3.5 times 6. 6 times 5 is 30, carry the 3. 6 times 3 is 18, plus 3 is 21. One place to the right of the decimal here, so I go over here one place, and I get 21. So I get F is equal to 21. I'm over here on this problem. It says use the formula, and we know this one, distance is equal to rate times time. I'm trying to find R here is what it tells me. I'm given that the distance is 20 kilometers. Now I'm going to put the units in this one. Is equal to the rate, which we don't know, times the time, which is 7.5 minutes. Okay? To solve this, I'm going to divide each side by 7.5 because that's how I get R by itself. So my goal is to get R by itself. I'm going to divide both sides by 7.5 minutes. And 7.5 minutes. This cancels, so I just have R on this side. I'm going to use a little bit of reflexive property here and put the R on the left side here. But now I have this little calculation to do. So I have 20 divided by 7.5. You know that we don't divide by decimals, so I'm going to move this to the right, the decimal to the right 1. In the divisor, and so I have to do that with the dividend also. So the decimal is here in a whole number. I'm going to move it to the right 1. I'm going to have to add a 0 and then come straight up. So 75, how many times does 75 go into 200? Well, it goes in twice to give us 150. And that gives us 50. We get to bring down 0. And 75, if you do that, 6 times 75 is equal to 450. And we see that we have a repeating decimal here, so because this is going to be the same continuously. So our answer is 2.6 with the repeat bar. Okay, so we have a repeating decimal there, so that's our answer. Over here, I have a formula we're familiar with to convert from Celsius to Fahrenheit. So I want to find the Fahrenheit temperature, and I'm told that the Celsius temperature is -2. So I go F is equal to 1.8 C plus 32. So F is equal to 1.8. The Celsius here is -2. -2 plus 32. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to go 1.8 times -2. We know our answer is going to be negative, so I'm just going to multiply by 2 here, and then when I put it down, it'll be negative. So 2 times 8 is 16. Carry the 1. And 2 times 1 is 2 plus 1 is 3. Decimal 1 over, so it's 3.6. It's a -3.6, so I have F is equal to -3.6 plus 32. This shows you that you really have to know your integer operations still, because we need to know about positive and negative numbers. Here I have a negative plus a positive. I'm going to take the difference of the two. So I go 32 minus 3.6. I'm going to line up the decimals. The decimal there is at the end of the whole number is right there. I can add a 0. And now I'm going to go ahead and do the subtraction. I'm going to have to borrow here, so I get 4. I'm going to have to borrow again. I get 11 minus 3 is 8, and I get 2 there. Decimal comes straight down. It's positive because this is the greater absolute value. I get F is equal to 28.4. Here's the same formula, but here we're going to use this formula to find the Celsius. So some people memorize the other formula for Celsius, but you can always use this formula and just solve for C each time. So here we have F is equal to 1.8 C plus 32. We're going to have 40 is equal to 1.8 C plus 32. We're going to subtract 32 from both sides. We're going to get 8 is equal to 1.8 C. We're going to divide each side by 1.8. And if we do that, we get 8 divided by 1.8. And so I'm going to have to move the decimal over because I don't divide by decimals. I'm going to have to move this over, add a 0, go up here. 18 goes into 80 4 times. So 18 times 4 is 32, 3, so 72. 72. We get 80 again. We're going to have a repeating decimal again, so we're going to get a 4 with the repeat bar. So our answer is the Celsius temperature is equal to 4.4 repeat bar. So C is equal to 4 point that. So degrees Celsius is what our answer will be. Next one is W minus 6.4 is equal to negative 7.3. Going to add 6.4 to both sides. That way I get W by itself, because W minus 6.4 plus 6.4 is W. Here I have a negative plus a positive. I'm going to take the difference in their absolute values. So 7.3 times or minus 6.4. I'm going to have to borrow here. I get 13. I get 9. I get 0.9. And this has the greater absolute value, the one with the negative. So my answer is negative 0.9. My next one is M plus 9.2 5 is equal to negative 3. I'm going to subtract 9.5 from both sides. And I get over here m. I'm just going to add these two, and they're going to have a negative sign though. I get, that's going to be negative 12.5. Moving on, I have on this one, negative 2.5z is equal to 20. I'm going to divide each side by negative 2.5. Oops. Divide each side, use fraction bar, negative 2.5. This side I get z, this side I get 20 divided by 2.5. I know my answer is going to be negative because a positive divided by a negative is a negative. But I need to figure this out, so I'm going to move this over 1, going to move this over 1, and now I want to know how many times 25 goes into 200. Think of how many quarters are in $2, and you get 8. And you get 8 is z, but we remember that it's a negative z, negative number, so negative 8. Here we're going to just add 2.6 to both sides. This is an easy one. 30 plus 2.6, we get c is equal to 32.6. We're going to go on to now problem 17. Let me make sure this is lined up correctly. In problem 17, I'm going to add 3.25 to both sides. And on this side, I get a. On this side, I'm going to have a negative 4.35 plus 3.25. I'm going to take the difference in their absolute values. So 4.35 minus 3.25, I get 0, 1, 1. I get 1.1. And it's a negative because this has a greater absolute value. I usually put the a on the left side, and so a is equal to a negative 1.1. On this one, it's really important to remember to add the opposite because we've got minus and negative. Subtraction is adding the opposite, and always you want to think that way when you got minus and negative. Always change that to plus a positive. And now this problem becomes a lot easier. So I subtract 2.354 from both sides. And I get x is equal, I'm going to write this out more and line things up here more, minus, I'm subtracting, so I line up the decimals in addition and subtraction. I can add a 0 here, and this is subtraction. So I get, I have to borrow here. I get 10 minus 4 is 6. I have to borrow again. I get 14 minus 5 is 9. 3 minus 2 is 1. 12, 1. I get x is equal to 12.196. Next problem, I have y minus 8 is equal to this. I'm just going to add 8 to both sides. And so I'm going to end up with y, using a little reflexive property, putting y on the left side. I'm going to get y is equal to this. I'm going to take the difference between these two. And this has a greater absolute value, so I'm going to end up with a negative number. So 52.427 minus 8. Line up the decimals. And then this should be a pretty easy problem. Do a little borrowing there. I get 12 minus 8 is 4. So I get 44. Bring down the decimal. 44.427. Next problem. I'm just going to multiply each side by negative 7.5. And I end up, these cancel, so I end up with m is equal to whatever this is. We have a negative times a negative, so we know the answer is going to be positive. So but I have to do the multiplication here. The 5 times 5 is 25, carry the 2. 5 times 0 is 0, plus 2 is 2. 5 times 1 is 5. We have 7 times 5 is 35. Carry the 3. 7 times 0 is 0. Plus 3 is 3. 7 times 1 is 7. we get 5, 5, 8, 7. 1, 2, we go over 2, we get m is equal to 78.55, and again it's positive because we have a negative times a negative. Next one, we have here, we divide each side by negative 0.9, negative 0.9. Now we have to do the work over here. On this side we're going to get r, but on this side we're going to get 36 divided by 0.9. Now I'm just doing the positive numbers here, but we know the answer is going to be negative because we have a negative divided by a positive. Here, learning, doing my decimals there, I move this to the right one, so I have to move this to the right one. I add 0 and that. So the question is, how many times does 9 go into 360? Well, it goes into 36 4 times. We get 0 left over, so we get there. So we just get r is equal to 40. Moving on this one, I'm going to cross out the number there so that's not confusing. I'm going to times each side by negative 5. And so we get c is going to be equal to whatever negative 5, that's a negative, times 0.97 is. So it's going to be a negative, and then I'm going to go 0.97 times 5. 5 times 7 is 35. 5 times 9 is 45, plus 3 is 48. Going to count over 1, 2 places right at the decimal, so I go here 1, 2, and I get c is equal to negative 4.85. Next one. This one is where we convert from algebra or English to algebra. So the product of a number n and negative 2.5. Product is multiplication, so we're going to multiply this times n. So it's negative 2.5 n is equal to 30.75. Is means equal to, and then 30.75. To solve, divide both sides by 2.5, negative 2.5. On this side, these cancel, so I get n, and then I have to figure this out. This is going to be negative because I have a positive divided by a negative. So I'm going to go over here. I guess I'll go over here and figure this out. So I go 30.75 in the garage divided by 2.5. Running off the page a little bit there. Move that over 1, move that over 1. This comes up. 25 goes into 30 once. We get 57 left over. That goes in twice. 25 goes in there twice, so we get 50. And then we get 7, 5, and that goes in 3. So we get n is equal to a negative 12.3. Moving on to this one. This is a sort of word problem here that we need to figure out. And I haven't given you a lot of background in this. Basically, if we have a unit price times the number of units, we get the total. So in other words, if I buy 12 pieces of candy, that would be the number of units, at 10 cents per candy, I'm going to have $1.20 total. So on this one, the unit is, I pay 12 cents or $0.12 per kilowatt hour. So it's that times the number of kilowatt hours, and we're trying to find her total. So, but we're not given this, so I'm going to say the number of units I don't know, so I'm just going to say 0.12x is equal to the total, which is 120. Divide each side by 0.12, and I get x is equal to whatever this is. So it's 120 in the garage, 0.12 outside the garage. Move this over 1, 2. Here's my decimal, 1, 2. Move it up, put a couple of zeros there. So this is going to end up to be 12 goes in there once, and then I have 3 zeros up here. So x is going to be 1,000 kilowatt hours is the units. I'm probably not going to have one as complicated on that, and we'll probably go over that a little bit more. On the next one up here, I have negative 0.5 W is equal to 0.625. Going to divide each side by negative 0.5, negative 0.5. We know our answer here is going to be, it's a positive divided by a negative. We know our answer is going to be negative. So here we get W, and it's going to be negative, like I said. Now I'm going to do 6.25 in the garage divided by 0.5 outside the garage. Need to move this over 1. Need to move this over 1. We get 1, goes in there 5. We get 1, 2, goes in there 2. We get 10. We get 25 there, goes in 5. We get W is equal to 1.25. So the total is W is equal to negative, or the final I should say, W is equal to negative 1.25. On this one we're going to add 4.5 to both sides. This one should be pretty easy. Decimals lined up, we get 8. We get Y is equal to 5.8. Okay, now we get some conversions within the metric system here. We're going to go centimeters to kilometers. Remember, King Hector died Monday drinking chocolate milk. So, centimeter is here. Kilometer is here. We're going to have to move that decimal over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places to the left. Okay? So don't count where I'm starting from, but start counting here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? So now I have this 2.5 here. I'm going to go 1, and then 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm running into my number there. But I'm going to have, this is equal to 0.00025 kilometers. Okay, so that's your answer. 15 centimeters, how many meters? You should probably know that one off the bat, but so it's 0.15 meters. But if you don't know that, we're going from centimeters to meters. We're going to move it over, so from here to here, we go 1, 2 to the left, 1, 2 to the left, we get 0.5 meters. This one you probably should know off the bat too. 0.576 kilograms is equal to how many milligrams? It's 567. But we can always use the King Hector, and I have it up here, so I'm going to use it again. So I'm going to go from kilograms here to milligrams. Actually, I was wrong. This is grams. So it's a good thing I caught my mistake here. I'm going to milligrams. So I have to really move over. I'm going from one end to the other. So I'm going to the right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 1, 2, 3, and then 3 zeros. So 567,000 milligrams. The 567 I gave you was actually in grams. Number 30, 0.75 liters is how many milliliters? That's 750. You should probably know that off the top of your head. But if you don't, the meter here includes the base, so it includes liter. And so we're going from this to milliliter. So we're going to move the decimal over 1, 2, 3 to the right. 1, 2, and then a 0, 3 to the right, and we get 750 milliliters. This next one is how many decimeters. 5.6 decimeters is equal to how many milliliters. So I'm going to millimeters. I'm sorry. So I'm going to go King Hector died Monday drinking chocolate milk. So decimeters is here. This is deca here. This is deci here. And I'm just going over to millimeters here. So I'm just moving it over 1, 2. So it's going to be 560. I have to add the 0 there. On this one, I have 5.6 decimeters is how many decameters. So again, decimeter is here. decameter is here, so this one I'm moving 2 spaces but to the left now. So 5.6, 2 places to the left is 1, 2, I get 0.056. 3 millimeters is how many centimeters? It's 0.3. We're just moving over 1, so we're going from here to here, so we're going to move it over 1 to the left, so 0.3. 3 meters is how many centimeters? That should be 300. And from that, we're going from the base here, meters, to centimeters, moving over 1, 2 to the right. So here's the decimal, and then a 0, 0 to move 2 to the right. On to our last problems here, height in meters. You know, if you have something like you might be 1.5 meters or something, you know, what I'm looking here for here is a reasonable estimate of your height in meters. I might be like 1.8 meters. That would be somebody, you know, somewhat under 6 feet, slightly under 6 feet. Length of your pencil in centimeters. I'm looking here from somewhere between 15 to 20 centimeters would be good. Here's this set of data right here. First of all, you're going to put these in order. So you're going to go 4.4. You can cross them out as you do it. 4.9. 5.4 is the next one. I cross them out each time I do one so I don't forget. Another 5.4. That could be a candidate for a mode, huh? 5.5 there, and 5.5 there. Other candidate for a mode. And 6.5 and 17.9. Okay, the mean, I'm going to take the sum of these and divide by the number of items, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So sum divided by number of items. So that's going to be whatever the sum is divided by 8. I'm going to tell you probably on the test what the sum of these things is, so you don't have to take too much time at it. But if you add all these up, you get 55.5. And if you divide that by 8, I'm going to do that. It goes on quite a while here. It actually does resolve, or it does come out, but we're going to go, it doesn't repeat, so we divide that by 8. It goes in there 6, and we go 48, and then we go 7, and 5 decimals there, and 8 goes into 75 9 times, and 72, and then we get 30, that goes in there twice. I'm going to stop there and just round to 6.9, because all my data is to the nearest tenth here. So if we go back up to the data and look at the data, it's all to the nearest tenth. So I'm just going to... So the last problem, the mean was, so the mean, when you do that division down here, you get about 6.9, we'll call it. The median is the middle number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So actually there's not going to be one number right between. So we go in 3 and then 4, and 5 here are going to be the two middle numbers, because there's going to be two middle numbers. We take the average of these two. You can think about what's just right in the middle of 5.4 and 5.5, and you might come out with 5.45. So you could do that, or you could think of, you could add these and then divide by 2. So 9 and then 10. So then we get 10.9 divided by 2. We get 5, 10, 9. Decimal goes right there. 4, is 8, and then 1, 0 is 5, so 5.45. The mode is the most frequent one. There's a tie here. 5.4 occurs twice, 5.5. So there's actually two modes, and the two modes are 5.4 and 5.5. That's a 5, believe it or not. And what is the outlier? The outlier is 17.9 here. It's way far away, which would probably affect the mean a lot here. The mean you might not want to use in this set of data because you have that large outlier. So that's the end of the test, and we'll be going over that more.